Hello and welcome to my happy place, otherwise known as my craft room. And I just thought I'd come in and give you a quick look round the room. And while it's looking its absolute tidiest, because we had 10 viewings on the house yesterday. We don't yet know if anybody's actually going to buy it, but I thought take the moment to give you a look at the room while it's still looking tidy. So I'm just giving you a quick scan round. And then I'll go around a bit more slowly. Right, so I'm coming into the middle of the room. Hope I'm not doing it too fast. Right, so as you come into the room, this is on the left. This is the Calyx Unit and the tall Calyx drawers that I have. You can look at these. I'll show you this all in a bit more detail a bit later. And then if we scan round, there's a wardrobe, nothing to do with the craft room. It just stayed here after Hannah and George moved out because this was the room they were using when they lived with us. There's my little chair, which I absolutely love. Sat in that chair a lot during my recuperation from my surgery, having cups of tea and mentally reorganising the room. It was all in my head, but I managed to get it done in the end. So that's where I sat a lot and watched the television. Sat there and had my lunch. You can see my little table. That was the little sewing table that belonged to my mother-in-law. And it was full of lots of really old sewing bits and pieces. I'll just show you how it looks inside. So it lifts up. It's still got a lot of her old cottons and bits and pieces, but a lot of them I've taken out and put into a box separately. One day I'll scan them and make a digital, I suspect. Okay, then there's another Calyx unit. These are all really bought when I was scrapbooking. And there's still a lot of scrapbooking stuff, as you can see. Particularly in the top there, it's all scrapbooking papers and things like that. And there's a few albums. But again, I'll show you this a bit more in detail a little bit later on. Then the smaller cube unit, which is an Argos unit, so it's not, the cubes aren't quite as big, just next to the Calyx. And there on top of there is my lovely old mum, watching over me every day. She was the one that inspired me to craft. All those years ago when I was a child, I always crafted with her. She taught me a lot of things, and she was always the first person I went to when I'd made anything new to show her. When I made a new scrapbook page or anything, she was always interested and always encouraging. And yeah, I like to have her in here with me. A few pictures on the walls, things that I've made, and some that I've not quite made it onto the walls yet. And there's my electronic die cutter. Right, so there's one table. And at the moment it's quite bare. This is what I call my project table. So when I'm working on journals, so before Christmas I think I was working on about 3 different journals. So they each have their own box, and this is where I put them when I'm not working on them. So at the moment, as you can see, I've got no big projects on the go, and it's all bare. And I just pull that out a little bit when I need to use it. And then moving on, right next to that is my actual desk. And there's the arm of where my camera goes. It just gets screwed into that arm and faces down onto my mat. And then you just see there's the usual bits and pieces that you need to keep ready to hand. And I love that it's just under the window. I hope that's not too bright. I'll move back a little bit. And there's a nice big window, and the fact that I've got the natural light to work in really, really helps, because I don't have to worry too much about artificial lighting. I do have a couple of lamps that I can use if it's dark, but I prefer to not to need to use them when I'm crafting, or when I'm filming anyway. And also this room faces the north, which you think, well, that would be not so pleasant, but actually it means I have pretty consistent light coming in. I don't have rays of sun coming in from different angles causing weird shadows on my craft mat. And it just means I have a sort of consistent level of light all day long, really. And it's a beautiful bright day today, as you can probably tell. It's very bright outside. So it's lovely and light in here, but I haven't got any sunshine in my eyes or bouncing off the desk, so making it difficult to film. So it really suits me that it faces north in this room. And then just coming round, there's my TV. So I can sit on my little chair and watch the telly when I'm not doing anything else, which I did quite a lot of when I was recovering. And it just stands on a little cabinet there. And then coming round to the final side, another Calyx unit, lots of drawers, lots of bits and pieces on top, all my digitals. I'll show you those a bit later. And there's a big cupboard, big store cupboard, which you can have a quick squiz in at the end. Not very exciting, just where I keep things that I'm not using. And this is my favourite unit. Goes right up to the ceiling. Well, not quite up to the ceiling, but almost. And I've got loads and loads of my journaling bits and pieces that I reach for the most in this unit. And that goes all the way down. It's just a bookcase. I think it's an Argos one again, not Ikea. And there's my stool that I use because I'm a bit short. I need that so I can reach things at the top. Okay, so that's just a general scan round. You don't need to see the back of the door. General scan round of my room. So for those of you who just wanted to see what the room looks like, you can turn the video off now. And for those of you who want a bit more detail and like to have a little poke in all the drawers and all the doors, behind all the doors, I will now go around the room and do a little bit more detail, starting with this unit here, because it's my favourite. Right, I'll be right back. And then this little shelf here is all full of what they call really useful boxes, and that's what they're called. And you can see how they come in all sorts of different sizes, lengths, depths. They really are very useful. And I've got quite a lot of these, all labelled up, as you can see, so you can see what's inside them. And then on the next shelf this is all seam binding and some of my what they call it, sari silk. So I've got them on cardboard rolls. And then there's a little box here with some rolls of narrow fabric that's just, sorry about the weird angle, I've just got to try and pull it out. So you can see there's some just little rolls of fabric that I bought on one of those big, I don't know what they call it, jelly rolls or something. And I've split them all up, but I hardly ever remember to use them. There's a bit more seam binding there. Right, so then there's a box with a few stamps and some little pieces, some die cut pieces in there, and my flowers that I've cut out of various nature books and things. This is my 6x6 paper pads here, and then this got some bits of bling and in this kind of little, I don't want to make it go a weird shape, but there's lots of little sheets of pearls and blingy bits in that little container there. So this end, this is a basket with little scraps of neutral papers. There's some bits of book page, odd scraps of coffee dyed paper, a bit of avocado dyed, just collaging bits really. That's in that little basket. And then underneath, this gorgeous box is now full of all my digital scraps. I was using it to chuck all the things I'd made when I did Roxy's weekly challenge. Every time I made something I threw them in that box and it was absolutely full. But it wasn't the best place to keep them, so I've now put them somewhere else. And I still wanted to use the box because I really like it. So I filled it with all my digital scraps, and it's perfect for rummaging through. And then these couple of boxes here, it came in a pack of 3, was one of the things I bought recently because they're long and narrow. See if I can, it's hard for me to hold the camera one-handed, but I'll try. So this has got all my little book pages in here, just standing up, things that I've torn out of books there. And these are all my Dilution Stamps. I use these quite a lot. So they're a bit different to some of the stamps that we use. They're quite quirky and a bit strange, but I've got loads of them. And I don't use them very much now, but I bought loads of them in the first lockdown. I was doing a lot of art journaling. I made a lockdown diary with Diane Reevely, and I was buying a lot of her products at the time, and some of which were these stamps. And then there's just a few journaly type things. There's a couple of, these are the 2 book covers I made as part of Roxy's weekly challenge. There's an ephemera holder there. There's the little ephemera holders I made one on camera where I put my stamps and labels and things. Just a few little bits that need to be stood up. Okay, then to the next shelf. Okay, this is, first of all, the brown box has got all my Your Creative Studio bits and pieces in it. I've only had 2 months worth so far, October and November. I've ordered the April one, so I might do an unboxing of that when it comes. Then the box next to it, these boxes are really good because you get 2 sizes in the pack. So this is a really long one, and if you're not using them, they just fold flat. which is quite handy. So this first one is my to-do box, which you've seen recently. So I'll just push that back. Now the next two boxes, these two boxes, these are all my made ephemera. So as you can see, it's not a great deal. When you look at somebody else's it's got craft room tours, they've got boxes and boxes of things that they've made, but I'm not that prolific, and a lot of the things I've made for my journals have gone in my journals. So I don't have a huge amount of stuff that's just been made to keep and possibly use in future journals, but that's a bit more of what I'm working on at the moment, is trying to build up my stash of ready-made ephemera. And I did spend a bit of time organising these two boxes because they were all a bit of a mishmash, and labelling them, as you can see. So I've got pockets, journal cards, tags, a few other bits and pieces at the back there. So that is really it, well, almost all of it, of my made ephemera. Sorry about the funny angles when I'm pushing these back, it's just a little bit hard to hold the camera straight with my other arm. And then this box is all my, or most of my, stamps, as you can see. And they're all stored in these type of, Avery L packets, so that they're easy to see what I've got. All different types, but they're all labelled and all nice and organised in there. Alright, so now we're down to the bottom two shelves. The first box is a whole load of Project Life type journal cards that I don't really very often reach for, but they're just sitting there if I decide I can do something with them. So I'm just going to push that in with my foot, so that there we go. And then these are the smaller of those zigzag type boxes. This box I've just been using to put those ephemera pieces that I made using the Tracy Fox kit. If you saw one of the first couple of videos I did after my surgery. This is where I've gone a bit, that's it. This is my Roxy's Weekly Challenge ephemera. Anything that's not somewhere else or been used, because I have used a fair bit of it. A lot of it was Christmas stuff, and a lot of the Christmas stuff isn't here. And there was the faux washi that we made. So there's been a few bits and pieces, and of course you've already seen I had the two journal covers that I made are stored elsewhere. But all the ephemera type pieces I've managed to squeeze into this one box. And I have an idea that I'd like to make a journal with all of these to kind of, I suppose, record the year. I mean, it was a whole year's worth of ephemera making, and I really enjoyed it. So I'd quite like the idea of making a journal with all of these bits in it. Then here we've got, this is just a box of bits of ephemera that don't fit somewhere else. So a lot of they're all in little paper bags, some Tim Holtz people, some fussy cut Victorian bits and pieces, just a whole range of postcards. Sorry, you're dropping the camera here. There's some postcards at the back, just a few bits and pieces that just don't go anywhere else. And the fourth box in this little range is sitting in my cupboard because I'm not using it at the moment, so they're ready to go when I need it. And then I've got a box, that little grey box has got all my teeny tiny ready-made ephemera pieces, so a lot of little tiny tags, some altered paper clips and things. So there's another small box of things that I've made, and underneath that is my tiny scrapbook paper scraps. And then I've got doilies in the green box and a little cabinet thing my sister bought me years ago. And one of the drawers has got some weird bits and pieces that I don't really, I don't even know what's in there. And the other drawer is full of my ruffles, my ready-made ruffles. And there's my ruffles in there. So you can see all my ready-made ruffles are in there. So that's that. And then right at the bottom, that's my sewing basket. It's quite a small one. It hasn't got a lot in. I mean, it is full, but it's obviously, it doesn't take an awful lot of stuff. But it's all I need. I don't do a lot of sewing. The box underneath, it's Lissy's journal. So that's the journal I'm making for my granddaughter, very, very slowly. Again, it's something I might do a little bit on camera because I've done a little bit of work on it. You can see there's some ephemera in that box, and that's what I've been making. I'm going to do the cover. I've been thinking about what to do for the cover of the journal, and I think I know what I want to do. So I might bring that out sometime in the next couple of weeks and work on it in one video. Just show you where I've got with it. It's quite a slow process because I can't give it to her until she's old enough to really read it and enjoy it. So there'll be a few years yet, so I'm not really under any pressure to get it finished anytime soon. These are the 2 boxes of my sprays and inks, you know, the spray inks, I suppose. And then all my envelopes are in those 2 boxes at the end. So that's this. It holds an awful lot. I love this little bookcase because it's just the right size to hold all of these boxes and bits of ephemera, and it's really, really useful. So I'm just going to turn off, and then we'll look at the Calyx unit. This is the top of my first, Calyx unit. So that's my Dilutions art journal right on the end there. So I've painted that cover myself, and I really love the journal. I just haven't worked in it for ages. A few books that I've picked up. I haven't got many books. So there's the Edith Holden book, and there's a couple of plant books and plant and animal books. Just a few there. Then there's my purple journal in its case, so that's my prototype journal. A couple of other journals that I've kind of not quite finished. So there's my Christmas journal is there that I haven't finished from last year. My big journal that I've worked on a few times with you. And then there's a couple of Dilutions. They're more like the Traveller's Notebook style. So that big fat one on the end, on the right, that is my lockdown diary. That is done in art journal style. I did that. She was doing a series on YouTube, and I was following her and diarying, really just doing, working on it nearly every day, cataloguing what was happening and how I was feeling. And I'm really proud of that little art journal. So I think it comprises about 3 Traveller's Notebook style books. So if you're interested, I could do a little flip through of that sometime. It's a really different thing to what I normally do, but and I haven't done any since. But it was a really good thing to do during that period. So I could do a flip through if anybody's interested, so just let me know in the comments below if you are. Right, so going down. So this is the top box on the left, all labelled as usual. So coloured card, plain card on the top, and then patterned paper scraps. So these are slightly larger than the other little box of... So this is scrapbook paper. So I'll keep my scrapbook paper scraps separate from my digital paper scraps, just because they're a different style and they're thicker, so I use them for different things. So I'm more likely to use these for punching things out. And there's just a few bits that don't go anywhere else. So there's some large stencils and some pens and bits and pieces. I'm not sure things I just shove in there that don't seem to go in anywhere else. And then next to that is some mixed media stuff and lots of my word stickers. You can see there's Tim Holtz stickers there. This next one down, I can sort of lower myself a bit, is fabrics. This is one of my new sections. So I sorted out all my fabrics a little while ago into different sizes. So the box at the front is the small pieces. And then there's like a basket and a clear box at the back. And they're pieces that are a bit bigger. They're not big enough to do a journal cover, but they're bigger than the small pieces at the front. And on the next one across is all the lace, or some of the lace. These are bits that I've picked up in charity shops and cut down from tops and things. So the bottom one is the bigger pieces. And then when I've cut them down into small manageable size pieces, I'll put them in the smaller box. So that's the one I'll reach for first. And if I need something a bit bigger, like to go on a journal cover or something like that, I'll look in the next box down where the bigger pieces of lace are. So I'm not very good at bending, so that's why I'm sitting on my stool instead of just crouching down. It's just I don't bend. So on the left-hand cube, we've got a box of napkins, and underneath that, there's a box of wood veneer pieces. I bought a lot of wood veneer packs when I was doing some art journaling a couple of years ago, or even longer than that. I think about 3 years ago. I was really into my art journaling for a while. And then this is the third of those pack of 3 of the Turquoise narrow boxes. So it came as a pack of 3, and I think they're quite useful for slotting into these little narrow spaces. So in theirs I've got extra napkins that I couldn't fit in the box, a couple of tubes of Tim Holtz tissue paper, and a bottle of flowers that I bought recently. And in this next one there's just some folders. There's one journal. There's the big turquoise one is a journal, a scrapbook, should I say, not journal, scrapbook. And then there's just a few there's another scrapbook there. That's Alyssa's scrapbook of her first year. And then that one with the hearts, the pink hearts one, where it says masks, that is actually all my stencils. It's just a ring binder full of stencils. The other ring binders I don't really use. And then at the bottom I've got these two, sorry, my legs are in the way here. These are the two fabric cube boxes that go in that you buy to go in these Calyx units. So I'll pull them out one at a time and you can have a quick look. Okay, so this one on the left is all the rest of, well, say the rest of my fabrics. It's not quite the rest of my fabrics, but in this little bag on the left here, these are all teeny tiny scraps, teeny tiny bits. So I've put those all in there. Then I've got a couple of bags of some really beautiful, I don't know what you call them, these are boho. I bought a couple of packs, and again I'm thinking I might like to do something with some of these beautiful boho style, I don't know, call them boho, they're kind of gorgeous fabrics. Look at this. So I've got a couple of packs of those. One is coloured in blues and greens and turquoises, and then I've got another one that I bought is all shades of red and orange colours inside. All the gorgeous, there's pinks and reds and oranges, gorgeous fabrics in there. So that's another project I'd like to do. This box down at the bottom, these are all the pieces that I would say are the right size to make journal covers with. So they're just at the bottom there. And at the back is a pile of random fabrics. There's some felts and bits of fabrics that I've just shoved in there that I might use at some point. So yeah, so that's this box. And the one next to it is all my neutral fabrics. So the ones like old tablecloths, some coffee dyed. So in the basket there's the smaller pieces of coffee dyed and cream coloured old bits of linen and stuff like that. And underneath there's a load of bits, tablecloths and things I've picked up in either charity shops or in the antique shop. And they're all cream and white and neutral. They can be. Right, so next along from the Calyx is the Calyx Unit, one of them. And at the back I've got all various magazines and things that I might use for, I don't know, whatever, collage or something. Don't use them very much really. And on the left is all the Daphne's diaries that I have I have dipped into occasionally, but not very much. These are the faux washies. Some of them are not faux, some of them are actual purchased washi strips, but most of them are the ones I made as part of Rachel's weekly challenge. And they're in that pot, which is, it's only an old yogurt pot that I decorated it up to make it look pretty. And then here's a box, there's not much in it. I like the box, and I'm just putting a few things in there. It's a bit like my idea box in that things I want to make, or want to have a perhaps make on camera, like the recent little projects I've made with my Stamperia paper pad. And then these are the drawers, so they're quite narrow, but there's lots of them. So this one is all paints, it's all acrylic paints in here. The next one, I actually call it my mixed media drawer. That's that one. The next one is called, you can see, that's my Bling Drawer. So this is, shield your eyes, this is full of very bright glittery stuff. So there's these two, so these two little containers here. This one is full of sequins or little gemstones, that kind of thing, and then underneath is all brads. And then the next one is it's a drawer full of photo paper, labels. I've got the large envelopes I've been using for doing my journal covers. This is just ink cartridge drawer. Sorry, and this one is my ephemera, boxed up ephemera drawer. I've got Tim Holtz things in here. I've got my field notes stamps here, words and phrases, all sorts of tiny little ephemera. So I have, where it was all scrapbooking style ephemera, it's now, a lot of it's changed now to other things that I use more. Now I'm doing the journaling, so a lot of these, but they really fit really well in here. This is printer paper. The next drawer is all the plastic folders, Polly Pockets, all my plastic stuff really. They all go in here. And the bottom drawer has just got things that I don't really use very much. It's got my external hard drive and I think a few other bits, some leads and things. I'm not going to open that. It's boring. Right, so we're going around the corner now to the next Calyx unit. Oh gosh, it's close, sorry. On here I've just got my little pack of wax seals, and in this box is bits and pieces I need to make them melt, and the seals themselves, and little pots and things that go with it. So that's just a little set for my wax seal embellishments. Just haven't found anywhere else to put them. It works quite well just sitting on here. Down from my box. This is just the 2 lots of remaining scrapbooking paper. You can see I keep my scraps cool colours and warm colours. That's the Dilution's way. So I've got them in just the 2 12 by 12 boxes of cool and warm. Then I've got a bunch of my favourite scrapbooking papers that I picked out and put in there. And there's an empty box of felt, some white scraps, and some 12 by 12 sticker sheets. So they're all there. And these ones are all mainly the scrapbook papers that I use here. So I don't know if you can see. So there's all the Stamperia paper pads and things just at the end here. And then on this side, these are all paper pads. And there's one journal. And some plain cardstock, white cardstock at the end. So this is all really scrapbooking size 12 by 12 papers that I might still use. Going down, this is some A4 stuff. So there's all my A4 cardstock on the left. Cardstock, vellum, tracing paper, that kind of thing. A few pattern papers on the next one along, which has come out of magazines. Don't really use them very much. And various other bits and pieces that all just slot in there. And then along here, these are all books that I use. A lot of this came from my mother-in-law when we cleared out her house. Some old books and things, journals, stuff. She was really quite into art, but a lot of her stuff was quite old and had quite a nice colour to it and things. So I used a lot of those. And there's some few bits of scrapbooking ephemera that I haven't been able to quite get rid of yet. Going down to the next. Oh dear, am I going to have to go down? Not quite ready to go down onto my stool yet. So this is a set of 2 drawers. Top drawer is absolutely stuffed full of tissue paper of every colour. I just keep shoving it in there and I don't really use it very much, but I do dip into it now and again, but it has got really full. And then the next one down is all my various adhesives. These 2, they're these Ikea drawers, and they are quite tricky to open. So I don't know. No, it does. So that's all my flowers, loose flowers, packs of flowers. A lot of them are Prima. So that's all flowers, and this is all flowers too. But these are all in little boxes by colour. So these are these little tiny, or not. They're not even the smallest size, but these are those really useful boxes again. And I've organised my flowers by colour in there. They're pretty small, but you can actually get even smaller boxes than this, which is crazy. I probably have got some of those too. Okay, at the bottom, Scrapbook Albums. And these are all my vintage, or some of my vintage books. The ones in the box are all my ones from university, so that's all French and German, and a few others. Okay, so this is the Argos Unit. They're all my all the old encyclopedias that I have been using for my book pages, and some other books that I've collected to use in scrapbooking for the journaling. So some quite old ones, oldish looking ones, some children's books, and all the encyclopedias. So that's all those. The next lot is all my die cutting stuff. So these are all the dies, because they're just handy for the die cutting machine. So the dies are all there. Moving down, this is a really nice box. Sorry, it's a bit of a glare from the window because I've just moved it onto my table. This is basically the box where I keep all my ribbons. This is a bag of sari silks. This is all the twine that I've now put into a box so I can get at it easily. And all my ribbons, I've been culling my ribbons. I've cut it right down, so I had far too much. I had one colour, every colour of the rainbow in a bag like this. One of these little, like, what do they call it? It's not Georgia. There's not muslin bags, but you know what I mean. These little fine bags. So I culled it right down, and I'm going to take some of it to the charity shop. This was absolutely stuffed full, this box, with ribbon. got some feathers, other little bits and pieces. So these are all bows and other bits of ribbony stuff. So they now all fit in this box quite nicely. It was absolutely rammed. At least now it feels a bit more organised. And that just goes in that slot there. And I've got just more albums at the bottom. Quick look under the table. Just boxes full of a lot of stuff that I don't use. This big one here, that's another really useful box. That's like the other end of the scale. It's massive. It's like a hanging file. And it's got all my 12 by 12 plain cardstock in there. So I will use that slowly, because I tend to stick with scraps to start with. Then a few other bins, art bins and things, where I've got lots of some scrapbook paper. I think I've got all my Christmas scrapbook paper in there. I've got journal life cards. This purple one has got it's got dyed papers in it. So yes, that's just all under the desk. There's my big cutter and my really big scoreboard just tucked along there. So this is my new little Ikea unit that I have talked about and how much I love it, because it's right under my desk and it's very handy when I'm sitting and crafting and filming. So I just thought I'd show you quickly what's in this. So this is the top drawer, and as you can see, I've got all my the archival ink pads right there handy, all labelled because they're all standing on their end, so you can see exactly what colours they are. I like to label. I'm a great labeller. Label everything. You've probably been able to tell. And then I've got paper clips there. Got my corner rounder, the glues. I've got a box of random pencils and rubbers and bits and pieces that I might use there, and various other little useful bits and pieces. Right, so this next drawer, this has got the two circle punches that I use the most for doing thumb notches. My little pen, what do you call it? Needle thingy. This is my scrap box for my little bits of lace. This is little bits of tiny scrappy bits of fabric that's just popped in there, and behind it is little tiny pieces of paper. So that's those two. They just slot in there really nicely. And then here we've got two more boxes. This is the clusters. So I'll put my clusters in there. And underneath that are all my wax seal embellishments. They're in there. And having them there means I now will reach for them more often to use them, which I wasn't really doing before. So it's been really nice to be able to have a few things close by. Okay, this is the washi drawer. This is all the neutral washes. So a lot of them are Tim Holtz. Oh, sorry, if I put them on the desk, there's a bit of a glare from the window. So there's all my neutrals. And then this drawer, I don't know if you can tell, this is my cool washes, my cool colours. And behind, these are all the warm coloured ones. So that works really well for me. The next drawer is just a bits and pieces drawer, really. These are all things the small things that I use. So there's bulldog clips and jump rings and bits of magnets and Velcro and all sorts of little tiny bags of things that I've collected, and I keep them all in this little box. This is my eyelets. And at the back is all they're the stamp blocks. That's it. My words are failing me today. Stamp blocks at the back. Drawer of dyed papers. And at the bottom, there's some cheesecloth, some other random bits and pieces in another box, little tiny stamps, some tape, various bits. So you don't really need to see my best desk in great detail. It's fairly self-explanatory. This thing here, this is a desk tidier. It's not terribly tidy, that I got from Ikea. It holds lots of stuff that I can shove in there, and I can put 12 by 12 stuff. I've got some masterboards and things in the back. At the moment I'm thinking I'm probably going to move that over to my other table, because I would like to put If you see down here, there's my sewing machine. It's just down there, and normally I just keep it on the floor by my side, and when I want to use it, I just lift it up onto the table, do what I need to do, and put it back down again. But at the moment I can't really lift it because of my shoulder. So I'm thinking I could get Richard to just put it up here in the corner for me, and then all I've got to do is pull it forwards if I want to do some sewing, because I think I could do sewing. It's the lifting up and down that I can't really do at the moment. And I don't use these, I don't need to dip into this box that often. It just sits there, and it's, you know, it just works quite well, so having it sitting there. But I think now I might like to put my sewing machine there for a little while at least, and just move that to somewhere else. That's the plan. Okay, so this is the last thing. So if you're still with me at this point, congratulations. I don't know how you've stuck it out. Oh gosh, I can't even speak. I don't know how you've stuck with me, but here we are at the Calyx Unit, and I do use this. I mean, I have it right by my side because I reach into this unit, and I mean, it's on casters, so I tend to pull it forward as well when I'm working. But in here, these are all like magazine folders. So this is all the papers that I reach for all the time. So on this end one, and this has all been, one of my reorganisations was all this, and labelled and put things so I can find them much more easily. So this is now all neutral stuff. This is large book pages, sheet music, all labelled of course. Some painted papers. These are neutral scraps, the larger neutral scraps. I've got my basket of tiny neutral scraps, but these are bigger ones that I can use perhaps for backing tags with and stuff, so larger pieces. Then the next two, you can see, they're all digital kits. This is how I store my digital kits. So I put them into one of those, they call them square cut folders, like this. So this is one of my shabby dabby doodah kits, and I put all the ephemeras in there, and all the papers are in there, and obviously this is being used, so it is really scraps. In fact, I could probably put a lot of this into my scraps box, but I kind of quite often keep things together with their kit. So I've got that, and I've actually alphabetised these so that I can find them. So if I want to find a shabby dabby doodah kit, I know I go to this end, and if I want to find something by Artie Mays, I go to the front, because that's where she is. So I've got quite a few of her kits too. So they're all there. And the next one is not, they're more journal kits. And then the other box is more general ephemera type kits. I've got all of Rachel's kits all in this one big folder because I have so many. But her kits tend to be more to do with collaging and that kind of thing. So I don't keep them separate so much. Oops. And then these are more like ephemera pieces and that kind of stuff. Things that aren't specifically journal related or for fussy cutting and that kind of thing, I'll put in there. Then the next one, I've got various other bits that don't fit anywhere else. So I have some painted papers, things that I've painted, book pages and things that I've done when I've been doing a little bit of art journaling. Not art journaling, but using some mixed media. And some of those, and some of my own things that I've scanned, my own digitals, lacy bits and pieces that I've scanned for myself. A few masterboards and things are in there. So that's that folder there. I've got one here. So I've got a big folder full of sewing ephemera in here. And then I've got a little box here with the smaller bits that I kept putting in one of the other magazine racks, and they'd keep disappearing. So things like Tim Holtz wallpapers and stuff, because they're small, they would go into one of these other folders or one of these other containers and get lost. So I put them in here. These are the remaining kits from the Tracy Fox set. So there's a few bits, so I might be more likely to find these things now. And then just a quick flick through the drawers, and that's all. Then we're almost done. Top drawer, inks, all my inks. Then, oops, this is a fun drawer. These are a lot of the things that I've made or punched out. Butterflies, flowers, labels that I made. This is all part of Rachel's challenge, I think. tiny envelopes, and these are all in these little boxes that I get from the works, and I love these little boxes. These are my stamps that I love to use. Got those all in a box so I can find the letters I need quite easily. And a few other little bits of random. There's a box of little tiny leaves. I don't know, all sorts of random bits in here. But it's kind of a fun drawer to dip into. There's some old buttons there. A bit of bling in here as well. That's a fun drawer. The next drawer is also a variety of things, but I put a lot of all my wood stamps together. This is part of my reorganisation, is putting all my wood stamps and my overflow stamps, small stamps as well, in there. So they're in there. And then I've got two drawers. I'm a bit of a punch fiend. So I have 2 drawers full of punches. You'll have seen these. If you'd watched any of my previous craft room tours, that's not changed. These were always where I had my stamps. So these are the punches. So this is smaller punches and all the Martha Stewart punches. And then these are a bunch of tonic and all the large punches in the next drawer. And the bottom drawer, which doesn't shut properly, it's a bit of a mess, but it's tools. It's all my tools. So I've got my label. So I nearly forgot to show you my Rascog, which just sits there next to my desk when I'm not using it. And then when I sit down to make my videos, I just swivel it round and it's right here. So there's my little cutter ready to use. And then in the actual top tray, I'll just take out this packet of tissues, which seems to keep getting moved around. So I've got my little basket of cream coloured laces, and these little boxes, they're a bit like the photo boxes I've got in one of my drawers, but they're bigger, and they all came together in the big box where I now keep my wood veneer, the big clear box. These 7 boxes were in there. That's from Hobbycraft. It's a whole set you buy. So I've taken them all out, filled them all with a variety of things, as you can see. If I turn it around, you can see they're all labelled, of course. And then this box here, this one is my tabs. They're my mock whale tail, the ones I make myself with circle punch. So they're in there ready to grab as well. And then on the end, there's my envelope, sorry, that's my phone. My envelope punch board, my smaller scoreboard there. What else is there in here? I've got like a soft, spongy board for punching on. Oh, my latest delivery from Ikea, not Ikea, from Amazon, that I haven't opened yet. Got a couple of things hanging off the side. This has got a variety of tools. My tiny attacher, small brayer, scissors, just scissors basically. More scissors. I mean, I don't know why I've got so many scissors, and a few pens that don't work. I need to clear these out one day. I just don't know what to do with them. Don't like just. And then the next drawer down, or the next little compartment. The Rascog has been one of the things I have very much reorganised since my operation. One of the things that I was doing in my head. So this has now got a couple of boxes there. So the one that clear box is now full of my trims, as opposed to laces. They're like the thicker trims, colourful bits and pieces. They were all in that box where I keep my ribbons. They'd all been shoved in there, and it was all just it was such a mess in that box. And then this little Betty and Walter box. There we are. My little snippets and snippet rolls are in that box. I love that box. Every time you open it, because it used to have soaps in it, a lovely smell wafts out every time I open it. So that's nice. And then I've got 2 boxes here. These are more, I think they're more lace trims, but they're more, I call them, they're more like floral trims. So I've got a couple, so I've got there's some leafy bits and a lot of florally things in there, and I've got another one underneath as well. So these are different types of trim, really. A bit more florally and lacy and very pretty. So they just pop in there. And at the bottom, that used to be where I used to keep all my washi tapes. And because they were at the bottom and awkward to get out, I never used to reach for them. Now I've got my 2 other boxes of lace. So that's a box or a basket with all my coloured laces. So these have all now been sorted out, so I know what I've got. Coloured laces, and this is all just white lace in there. And then the box underneath, so that little box has got these fabric pieces I made. I don't remember, I made a video quite a while ago when I took lots of tiny bits of fabric. It was a Gail Agostinelli video that I was following, and where you put loads of bits of fabric and under this special fibre and sew all over it and then cut them into shapes. So I've got some heart shapes there. I used them, I think, some of them on my wedding journals. So that's that, and then if I turn it around the back, there's more. Well, not so much at the top or the bottom, but in the middle, that pink, it's actually a wash bag really, that's full of cottons. That's the one I use the most for my sewing machine, the cottons that I've used, and anything to do with the sewing machine really, as well as that little cream box which has got my like bobbins and things in. And then the other little pink bag behind it is another little wash bag, or it might be a makeup bag. That's got my bookbinding stuff in it. So then hanging off here on one of these this baskety thing, it's all my embossing pots. So there's the embossing pad and all the pots of embossing powders, gold, silver, black, white, those kind of things. So I keep those in there. And there's another couple of little pots hanging off the side here. So I've got 2 at the top and 2 at the side here. That's got some brads, mostly brads, still in packets, and a load of pens, of a variety of types of pens, and there's a few other, what they call them, I can never remember what you call these, like spatula things, for spreading modelling paste and stuff with. I never remember what they're called. Palette knives, is that it? I think so. Okay, so that's that. So that is my Rascog. So I think you've seen everything now. I nearly forgot about my Rascog because I kept moving it around as I was going around the room. I kept just moving it out the way. Nearly forgot to film it. But now you've seen it. Okay, so the last thing will be the big old, I swing around very slowly. I will show you the big old cupboard in the corner, which isn't very exciting, but I'll show you it anyway. Just bear with one moment. It's not very exciting really, but I just thought you might want to see. So it's only half a cupboard because all of that is the bit over the stairs. So it looks like it's going to be a wardrobe, but it isn't. So it starts, and it's just storage. So we put some shelves in. That's quite handy. So I've got lots of journals and smaller scrapbook albums on that shelf, and empty boxes. And then down here, it's a mess. It's mainly empty boxes. That is my Christmas box, and then there's a load of baskets and things that I might need to use. This box here, this big Amazon box, that's actually the box I'm filling to take to the recycle. So every time I find something, I think I'm not going to need that again, and there'll be more to be added. I'll put it in there, and at some point we'll take it all to the charity shop and get rid of it. There's a load of ribbon in there at the moment, and a few other bits. So yeah, not very exciting. But that's the cupboard. Okay. Right, so thank you for joining me on this little tour of my craft room. I'm now sitting in my armchair. I will try and edit it as best I can to avoid all the slightly weird movements, but anything that I can't edit out, I apologise for when I'm moving between things. If you get a slight weird angles, that's because my right arm is not very strong when I'm just taking the camera in that hand to open things. So I hope it was of interest. If you've stuck it out to the end, congratulations. It takes quite a bit of effort to stick with some of these things. I often give up halfway once I've seen what I want to see, so I won't blame anybody if they don't make it this far. But anyway, I hope it's of interest to those of you who wanted to see how my craft room is. I absolutely love this room. It's definitely my happy place. I come here, even when I'm not crafting, I'll come here, because if you can see, I have to move my chair, obviously, but my my TV is just over there, so I can sit here, got my little table, have my cup of tea or my lunch, and I'll just sit here and be happy, just looking at my stuff. That's what I've done a lot of that lately when I've not been able to craft. So, yeah, so thank you very much for joining me, and I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.